The party Vola in conflict with the Samopomich. I would like to invite to provide comments on this situation the members of Vola Party Юрій Дерев'янко, Ольга Галабала, Сергій Таран, Ірина Суслова, Олеся Бунюк. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. We all are members of the Council of Vola Party. We have not expected for such a feedback in the mass media, which was related to our internal party discussion. We believe that people are trying to turn what was the just internal party discussion into the conflict between two people or two parties. At the time when there is a war going on in our country, we cannot allow to have any conflicts, any splits, and we would like to explain our position so that our position is perceived correctly, because we see a lot of incorrect information in mass media. What's happened in reality? Political party Vola is a political party that was set up on the 21st of June 2014. When we were thinking about how to go to elections, we could understand that independently Vola could not put forward its nominees. The first meeting of Vola, which was held on the 19th of September, made a decision that Vola party forms the single list with Samopomich, and we delegated 8 persons there. The second decision we made that we nominate our candidates to constituencies from Vola Party, and the third decision that we give right to the member of the party, Victoria Sumar, to independently decide into which list she will join. In the results of the election, 6 people who were delegated to Samopomich list are now members of the parliament. These are 6 members of Vola Party. At the moment when they were nominated, they suspended the membership. That's according to the law. We received one majority candidate, which is Yuri Derevyanko, who won in his constituency. And the third, one of the founders of Vola Party, Victoria Sumar, became number 7 in the Народный Front list. That's the result of this election campaign. Yesterday, there was the second National Congress of Vola Party, and at this Congress there were 3 things happening, and around that we have misunderstanding. The first thing we discussed and we gave assessment to the election process, to the voting process that took place, and to cooperation that we had with Samopomich, our members who are candidates from majority constituencies. They expressed their idea about how the interaction with Samopomich was taking place, and there were some negative ideas expressed. You can see video on the website of Vola Party. It's all there. That's first thing. Second thing that happened, we were discussing the following. These 8 deputies have to set up, and that was the decision of the National Congress, the Interfaction Association of the Members of Parliament. There are such associations which include the members of parliament from different factions and those who are not in factions. So the Vola Party said that our 8 MPs have to set up the Interfaction Association Vola. The MPs are to be in the faction. That's the requirement of the law, the requirement of the constitution, and that corresponds to the moral agreements we had. And the third decision that was made, that Vola Party, because of all the misunderstandings and not very correct cooperation with Samopomich, will go to local elections independently. And in the result, the discussion about whether Vola Party should be the independent political subject or should merge with Samopomich, that was the discussion. And it turned into some information scandal, which we now have. And we would like to explain all that so that you can ask questions, and our position is clear. Volya Party is an independent political subject. All MPs who are elected, they will be members of the faction of the political party in the list of which they were, but they will also create the interfaction association Volya. And now I would like to give the floor to Irina Suslova, who's number 6 in Samopomich, but she was nominated by Volya. And I'm Olga Galabala. I am member of the Council of Volya, and I was nominated from Volya in the constituency number 84. Good afternoon. I am Irina Suslova. I'm number 6 in the United List of Samopomich. I am the person of Volya, and I will be. I take a commitment to enter the faction Samopomich and also become a member of the Interfaction Association Volya. In September, I was delegated by the National Assembly or National Congress to the list of Samopomich. Yesterday, we had the second National Congress or Assembly of Volya, and the same delegates were there as were at the first National Assembly. The decision was made to sign the memorandum so that all the MPs who are in the parliament who were elected as part of the list of Samopomich as the majoritarian candidates to set up the Interfaction Association Volya. In accordance with that, the candidates to members of parliament signed the memorandum, which clearly states the criteria and the program that we have to implement in the parliament. It has been mentioned. It was mentioned. The memorandum and protocol of activity of the group of Volya in the parliament was signed. I am Serhiy Taran, the member of the political council of Volya Party. We have a good news. We will have the parliament with a clear pro-European majority. Unfortunately, it's a pity with the pro-European majority may not have the pro-European will, and so political party Volya will initiate the drafts which will make the Ukrainian politics of higher quality. We see that the MPs who will be the members of the parliament from political party Volya, they have to concentrate on the following. First of all, what will allow to continue illustration processes in the country and also create foundations for forming the powerful personnel reserve, which will be able to replace those civil servants who will be fired in the results of illustration process. This will be the initiatives which will renew the state apparatus, which is the instrument for further reforms. All the initiatives and drafts which will be discussed in the parliament will be supported by Volya Party if they work for the reform of the state apparatus, because that is how reforms in any country starts. The second direction in which the MPs from Volya will be work, and that is reforming the system of security. We are now in the state of war with Russia, and we now have to approve the draft laws which will reinforce Ukrainian army. We believe that till we are not members of NATO, we have to do the reform of the army Swiss way, which means the training of a powerful military reserve out of those citizens who are ready to defend the country, so that not a single aggressor can get to the Ukrainian territory, where we will have quite a powerful military reserve. Another important direction of work should be anti-oligarchic laws. It's no secret that In the past and now, Ukrainian politics and economy are under the influence of oligarchs. All the political forces which are in the parliament, they're considered by oligarchs as business projects. They invested money during the election campaign into them, and now they will be requesting or requiring them to pay back this money. And that means that it will be very difficult to reform the country with the political forces which are related to oligarchs. And so political party Vola will be doing everything possible so that the Ukrainian economy is independent of the influence of oligarchs. We will suggest to the Verkhovna Rada to approve the law on financing the political parties, where, like in Europe, where there are parties which are not dependent on the oligarchs, will come up with the initiative according to which we'll have a new election system. We are for election system with the open lists. We are for prohibition of political campaigning, talking about the external advertisement and TV advertisement, so that the election campaign is not a competition between the money bags. The draft laws, which will be for separating business from politics, will become one of the priorities of the work of this parliament, and political party Voля will come up with these initiatives. We will be also insisting on the citizens to get the realistic mechanisms of self-governance. Now, many are talking about self-governance, but no one is talking about how the citizens can get such mechanisms. So we will be for the citizens receiving the possibility to have the local referendum, the local questionnaire, so that the citizens can dismiss any civil servant from their territory. The mechanism that will reinforce the territories will also be important. And another important mechanism that we are the first ones to introduce is the mechanism of cooperation between the MPs who are elected to the parliament and political parties that delegated them. Because usually when the MPs are elected to the parliament, they lose contact with citizens or political forces that delegated them. European practice is different. European practice is that MP, when is elected into the parliament, has to execute the decisions of the party. And so we introduced this mechanism. All the MPs which will become members of the parliament from the political party Voля will sign the memorandum which was voted for at the Congress, and this memorandum starts the mechanism of interaction between the parties and the MPs, which means that the MPs will be more responsible and they will be executing the election campaign for which the citizens were voting when voting for these MPs. That is what political party Voля will be working on, and we hope that the MPs who will be elected into the parliament will find many allies, and the pro-European forces will also support our initiatives, and we hope that people elected from Samopomich will be our allies as well. Here we have Yuri Derevyanka, who is the member of the Council of Vola, also Oles Banyuk, who is the member of the party, and he's the lawyer of the party. But we will give you a chance to ask questions to us or to them, so that we do not take a lot of your time, your questions. I will start. I do not really understand. Sergei Taran started saying that you are emphasizing pro-European direction, and he mentioned some specific steps which I believe do not contradict Samopomich. But on the other hand, you are separating with Samopomich. Is that the problem of personalities or political parties? I will give the floor to my colleagues. That's not separation. When we were going to elections, we had no blocks. If we had a block, then two political parties would create a block. But because we didn't have a block, the Democratic Alliance went in the list of Громадянська позиція Воля, in the list of Samopomich, but that does not mean that we merged into one party. The party discussion that we had was around whether we all need to merge into one party, Samopomich, or should there be Vola party and Samopomich party. The Congress, the Assembly of Vola decided that should be Samopomich and Vola separately, but they will independently go to local elections and they will be independent political subject. There's no conflict. Probably there's no conflict, but then comment. The party members negatively assessed the fact that Samopomich did not correspond to illustration or moral criteria. Well, any political force, what is it about the quality of new politics? And during all the election period, we were not talking about the problems we had in our political partnership. This political discussion gave an assessment to political partnership that we had. That's not a conflict. That's the right of political force to assess how we cooperated with our political partners. The information, the video was it's about 1 hour of discussion, open party discussion, and I believe that's new for political forces. It's on the website of Vola Party. And what you are talking about, it's not us. It's people who are members of the party who came from regions, who were the candidates from the majoritarian constituencies. They are talking about that. This Congress was a closed one, and we were not planning to discuss it publicly, but because there's so much information around that, we downloaded all what was happening at the Congress. Once there are such differences, then probably parties do not merge before they clear up what are the differences. It looks like in the closed mode, you were discussing all these differences, then you went to the elections as one political force, then you won the elections with the assistance of Samopomich, and then you get separated. Good afternoon. I would like to emphasize that we do not have political differences with Samopomich. I will try to understand. And what are the differences? In personalities, we have neither political differences nor differences in personalities. We are assessing a very brief period of time of joint work at the elections. And that's it. That doesn't mean that we have some differences in programs and ideas. We have a lot of common, and that's why we're united. But that's a normal process when, in the result of the election, the political party discusses all good things that were happening. That's internal discussion. And the differences which could be interpreted as the conflict between the parties, this is not the case. We were assessing the processes taking place in every constituency, in different constituencies. There's nothing to talk about. We understand that all our MPs will be in the Samopomich faction, will jointly be voting for many laws, and we will work in close cooperation. That is the characteristic of a very brief period of time, and nothing more. Someone presents it today as differences or separation or split or conflict. But you do create a separate association in the parliament, association Vola in the parliament. I'm trying to understand, why do you need it? If according to you, you have understanding in politics and priorities, then why do you need this separate association? The separate association in the parliament is needed so that the political party Vola can position its point of view as the subject of politics and its representatives in the parliament. That does not contradict the constitution or laws or moral principles, because we were talking about that before uniting. Everyone will be in the faction of Samopomich, Other of our candidates will be in different other factions, but we have now so many interfaction associations which are fighting against alcohol or reanimation reform package. That is association of our MPs who have some common objectives. And in this case, we want political party Vola to become a subject so that the voters understand it, so that our values, our programs, our ideas, so that they are implemented via our MPs, so that people can identify how our MPs work and how others work. That's natural. We have questions. Then how can you comment that today Mr. Sobolev on his page at Facebook said that taking Mr. Derevyanka into Samopomich was a mistake. I was not. We were setting up the political party Vola, and it was on the basis of internal party discussion, and I'm happy that all these foundations and the practice have always been like that, and that was the topic of our Congress, the first, the second, and the third, and it's difficult to comment. There's no sense in that. The facts, we need the facts to be able to comment them. But such things as social lift and multi-leadership, all our candidates were elected by the rating of voting, personal voting for each MP, and this way we formed the list, and this way the party members appreciate it, and all those rules that what were guaranteed in the beginning, we guarantee now. We talk to you, Ukrainska Pravda, according to your, to the member of your party, Igor Sobolev, your National Congress was held violating the charter of the party, because the charter gives 5 days to convene the elections. You announced this Congress on Friday, and you had it on Sunday. I'm Anatoliy Zhornovoy. The National Assembly was held according to all internal rules and procedures. Maybe someone believed that's a quite strange thing. It was the early Congress, and we can call upon, convene such Congress in a short period of time, but at the Congress we had the quorum of 59, out of 59 delegates, we had 43, more than 2/3 of delegates that were to be at the Congress. And the National Assembly was legitimate and had the right to make decisions or pass resolutions that they passed. Ukrainian news. But nevertheless, the question during your assembly, it was mentioned that you are considering not just setting up of interfaction association, but the group of MPs. And you renounce that's something else. It's more like a faction. Have you been discussing this? And have you refused from that now? According to our memorandum, there may be the interfaction group of MPs. We understand that we will have minimum 8 MPs. Out of all the MPs who will be not in factions or who were not elected as part of the party list, if they share our election platform and they support our political program, and if they can become the members of Vola party, if there is a big number of such people, then besides the association of MPs, this could be a group of MPs, but this group of MPs shouldn't be smaller than the minimum number of MPs at a faction, and the MPs who are MPs of other factions, they will be in these factions, they will be part of inter-faction association. But if there are many people, and there are many people from Maidan who are and activists who won in the elections, and they will be MPs. Why not? If we can get united into the group of MPs, we have such a right. But what will be the MPs who will be part of that group? This will be the issue for the Congress. We will invite them to the Congress, and we will request the Congress to support that, because the Congress is making such decisions. Any other questions? TV channel ZIG. Which one of your colleagues signed the memorandum and who did not sign? I understand that Igor Sobolev did not sign it. This memorandum was signed by people who were delegated to Samopomich: Irina Suslova, Andriy Nemirovsky, his number 33. And now there's a discussion about whether he can be in Verkhovna Rada or not. Alexei Kuzmenko and Sergei Mishchenko and Ruslan Solodovnikov. These people most probably will not become members of the parliament, but they signed the memorandum. Yuri Derevyanko signed as the candidate from majority constituency. Igor Sobolev, Pavlo Kostenko, and Victoria Faitsitska did not sign, but the Congress publicly offered them to sign this memorandum. In the beginning of the press conference, you mentioned that the MPs who are in the parliament will have to become part of the interfaction association. Have they all agreed to that? What will happen if they do not become the members? 3 candidates to MPs have not signed. The National Assembly passed a decision that the next National Assembly will take place on the 9th of November on Sunday. This will be public. We will invite everyone so that we have the discussion that we want to have, and we will ask them. The National Assembly requested, invited. There's a lot of informal communication, but we do hope that all people will come, all the candidates nominated by Vola will come. And so we are waiting for the 9th of November for the next National Assembly or Congress of Vola Party. I will ask a question which probably is not very pleasant, but the statement of Igor Sobolev caused such an attention to this information. Mr. Sobolev accuses you in fraud and in fraudulent schemes. This is quite a serious accusation, which requires, for you either to deny it or maybe you will go to the court. I'm sorry that this happened and that we don't have any personal conflict, but this has been said, and I would request Igor either to provide evidence or to dismiss what he said. But if he doesn't do that, I will go to the court probably. But we had this discussion when we were setting up the party, and all our activists who are not members of the party, we were discussing it all. I would like to remind that communists were using it, then Party of Regions, then Svoboda political party. was used by, were using that, and now it's a pity that such things are happening. We'll be trying to settle it without any judiciary involved. I would like to add, everything is very simple here. There is a political force, and it's not a private project, a new political force. Our political force is made up of people from Maidan, from self-defense, from those people who are in ATO. These are people, and you cannot impose anything on them. And these people have a very high feeling of justice. And when 43 or 42 persons get together at the first meeting and they nominate people to samopomich, then same people basically get together yesterday and they say Voля party is not merging with samopomich. We are partners, but we are separate political subjects. So all the MPs, please create the association and represent Vola party. That is what Sergei Taran was talking about, when MPs are not just MPs, but they're continuation of the party. And people who disagree with that, who do not come to the National Assembly, unfortunately they were not there, and now they turn it into personal conflict, that's wrong. You're a journalist, you understand what information wars are. That's wrong. Respect the Congress, come to the Congress, participate in party discussion, express all your wishes. But those people who nominated you to be member of the list and now to ignore these people and say that something wrong happened, that's incorrect. But unfortunately, our internal party situation has some negative effect. We're saying that the people of Vola are proud people. We are a political force. We are a small political force, but a political force of people of Maidan. It's multi-leader. And there cannot be, there are people, members of Vola, and they make decisions. And that's how we are different from other political forces. And that is why we have this conflict. And people are, some people are infuriated, especially those who are getting mandates. That's a normal new political process that we have in our country, and we thank you for listening to us and asking us questions. Thank you for coming and explaining. Thank you.